Hello, I'm Jeff Sawyer, CCI's Director of Employer and Professional Network Development. This Future Forward segment features Mia Little, who is a cybersecurity attorney with Microsoft. Mia has had a variety of career roles as a data scientist, a national security legal fellow, a privacy and government surveillance fellow, and cybersecurity attorney in her years since graduating from Middlebury in 2007. Mia is joining us to share her perspectives on the cybersecurity field, including the size, scope, and challenges confronting society in the cyber arena, what our cybersecurity future looks like, and action steps current students may want to consider to position themselves to enter this field in the future. Mia, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
While the entire physical world in 2020 seemed to shrink for us due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the world of cybercrime seemed to grow in scope. We've all heard about an increasing velocity of cybersecurity breaches over the past several years, and given our growing daily reliance on emerging technologies, can you help us understand the scope of the cyber challenge?
I can try. Cybercrime is costing companies and people millions of dollars a year. And as you can see from the news, it's really only the larger companies that can afford to pay those demands. Many smaller companies are actually looking to invest in cyber insurance, because cyber insurance is supposed to help businesses from the losses that are caused by an event covered under user's policy. But you will see it everywhere. And cyber criminals are actually after user information. So that could be health data, financial data, personal data, anything that will help them profit off of you. Whether that be by extortion. So actually obtaining the data through force, or threatening to go public with the data, or perhaps just identity theft. So the scope is really broad, the threat's real, and it can be pretty costly.
Talk to me a little bit about the significant types of threats. You've mentioned financial crimes. What other sorts of cyber threats are there?
So you also have ransomware, something you'll hear about a lot in the news. So these are cyber criminals who are actually going into systems, they're finding a vulnerability. They tend to encrypt your information, and then they'll demand money in exchange for decrypting it and giving it back to you. So that's one way. And you can try to avoid this by, engaging in normal security protocols like multi-factor authentication, but otherwise they're just going after opportunities. So there's just basic malware attacks, there's identity theft, there's also misinformation, which probably could be coupled in there as well.
We've also heard quite a bit about, I'll call them infrastructure attacks, where there are threats from foreign entities, whether they're government or government related, or let's say criminals, who are basically attacking our infrastructure. What's the latest in that realm, and how is it that we really should be thinking about dealing with it?
So our critical infrastructure is at risk. You can think of critical infrastructure components like your financial industry, your healthcare industry, like hospitals, where they don't necessarily have the most up-to-date security tactics going on there. They're obviously really smart people, but their systems are quite behind. We also have possible attacks against the energy sector, right? So perhaps turning something off, like a resource to your home or to a hospital. So attacks towards critical infrastructure is definitely getting a lot of attention, even attacking the technology industry as well. And so we are working together through the ISACs to combat this issue.
Now, who are some of the main actors in this arena, both in terms of targets, perpetrators, defenders?
So some of the main actors, I would say you do still see your nation state actors, but even more scary, you see the folks who are actually just working in their basement doing this for fun. And that's the hardest part, is that it's hard to figure out who's doing what. It's easy to hide behind the web. And so they tend to just go after opportunities. So it could be a small mom and pop store. It could be a major player where they could go into this company and actually divulge a lot of sensitive data, maybe because they forgot to actually update their system overnight when they knew there was a vulnerability out there in the wild. So those are some of the major actors, or just nation state and just random folks who are doing this for fun, people who are doing this as a part of the business, and anyone could be the victim. Like, no one's safe from this, no company, no industry.
So perhaps you can talk a little bit about the work that you do. So with Microsoft, what's your role and what's your day look like?
So I'm corporate counsel at Microsoft's Digital Crimes Unit. So we look at folks, cyber criminals who commit crimes on Microsoft's products and services. So doing anything bad or illegal, money laundering, launching botnet attacks or ransomware attacks, leveraging one of our services. And then from there, we'll either do a criminal referral or a civil action to make them stop the damage that they're doing to not only Microsoft, but also as customers and partners. So that's what we do.
When you talk about criminal referrals, who would that be to? What entities?
So with cyber criminals, it's worldwide. And of course, I'm US based. And so as a US attorney, I'm kind of limited in my jurisdiction. But in cases where we do see that the cyber criminals are from a different country, we can actually do a criminal referral to law enforcement in their particular country so they can then act on it and go arrest these people if they can actually find them.
I'm just curious, thinking about when you graduated from Middlebury, your focus at that point in time to what you're doing today. Talk a little bit about your path.
My path. So at Middlebury College, I was actually an international studies major with a focus in Arabic and Islamic studies. I did spend quite some time in the Middle East, and it's come in handy a lot lately because Microsoft does have markets in the Middle East as well. So plenty of opportunity to use foreign language. From there, I did get my master's. I have a master's of science, and then I went to law school as well while working. And I did this all to fill gaps that I identified in the industry as I started to work. So yeah, I didn't suspect that I'd be a lawyer. And I thought I would be using my language more as like a diplomat, perhaps. But the path was just literally following what was happening in the news. And I moved straight to DC. And at that time, the global war of terrorism was a big thing there. So I was leveraging Arabic quite a bit. And they were like, okay, go to school at night and get some type of tech degree. So I did that with Johns Hopkins. And then I moved forward to get my law degree to fill gaps that we had with national security.
Super.